Aloha. Hello,
Hello.
Beth Rosenblum. We've got a member spotlight who's just got back from Kona, Hawaii, doing the World Championship race there, Ironman in Kona. And that's always so exciting. And I can't wait to hear about your story about Kona, as well as the journey to get to Kona, because that was not an easy journey. And it has spanned a number of years, and you had that stress of what was going to happen with the change in format and all this in terms of where the races were going to be held. So it was so victorious to see you cross that finish line. I can't wait to hear more about it. So thank you, Beth, for joining us. But before I go too long, I'm actually going to turn it over to Bob for the official introduction.
All right, thank you, John. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for being on tonight, Beth. It is, as John said, it is wonderful. Your accomplishment was just, amazing, and we'd love to celebrate it. And so thanks for being on, and congratulations again, as John said. And everybody who's watching this realizes the kind of accomplishment it was and the commitment you had to do to put into it. For people who are listening who don't know Beth well, this was her 14th full Ironman crossing the finish line. And she started like 15 years ago. So we're talking about an Ironman a year, plus working in a 10 or 12 half Ironman in some very tough courses, as well as a lot of other shorter distances. So, I mean, it's just a wonderful career, and it's wonderful that you were able to finish it at Kona. Love your picture crossing the finish line. That's pretty cool. So welcome again, and thank you for being here. And for the first question that I have for you is, what was Kona like? I haven't experienced this. I doubt that I ever will. I don't know. But I mean, that's got to be an awesome experience. What was that like, crossing the finish line at Kona, compared to maybe some of the other Ironmen that you crossed?
Wow. I don't know that I really had processed it because it was so many years in the making, and it was really just a great experience going there and being there. I mean, it was, the unique aspect of having it be an all women's race was really great. To see women who are so accomplished and amazing. I mean, I looked at the statistics. 100% of the women made the swim cutoff. 97% of the field finished. I mean, That's just amazing. And to be in the company of those women, it's like I said, I don't know that I've really processed that I got to be there and got that opportunity under these circumstances to do it. I was really surprised when I even got the legacy spot for this year. I thought it would be a couple more years. So when they let me know, I think it was around February of this year, they let me know. I was really surprised, but really excited. And it was just a tremendous experience. There's so much history at that race. It's everything everybody says it is. It's tough. It's hot. It's windy. I think we got a little bit luckier than some years. I don't know that it was as windy this year as it has been in some years. It's definitely hot. It's definitely challenging as a course. And I'm so proud that I got to do it, and proud that I got to share it with everybody, and I'm so grateful everybody, I got so much support from everybody, from family, friends, the triathlon club, everybody just, wishing me good luck, and it definitely got me through, because I had an injury coming into this, and so the run wasn't much of a run. It was a lot of walking and contemplating, and I wasn't going to quit. So the good vibes definitely got me through.
Backing up just a little bit, Beth, the dad in me has to ask you a question. I'm sorry, but when you said that you were among all of those amazing women, you do realize you're one of them, right?
Yeah. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome because I came in as a legacy athlete and not somebody who qualified. So, I mean, I knew I wasn't fast, and So there's some of that going on. But it really was, I mean, I hate to sound Academy Award. It was an honor to be, I mean, it really truly was an honor just to be there and be at the start line and participate. And, got a chance to see some of the pros as they were doing their thing, and boy, are they amazing.
I know, there's like they're from another planet, It's
Yeah.
like, so, but your qualification was a qualification. I mean,
Right.
it's nothing to sneeze at to do
No.
12 freaking Ironman in 12 years. Okay, well, 13, COVID kept you from doing one of them. So it's like,
Yeah. Well, and when I
you know?
started this program didn't exist. So it didn't really, I think it didn't exist until maybe like my third or fourth Ironman. And so when you start to get to that point, you're like, okay, well, if I've done this many, what about doing this many? And you just kind of gets built up to that.
and John, unless do you have a question that
No, I wanted to echo where you were going with this as well, is you qualified, and there's different pathways to get to the start line in Kona. You did one pathway, and that is admirable. And there's so many people that are even trying to do what you did to get to that start line. It's not easy, and you did it. And so you are
No,
one of the
thanks.
amazing athletes. But I want to go back to Bob's first question. I want to hear a little bit more about what it was like coming down Ali'i Drive, where you saw the finish line, because there's all this lore about, the finish line and all the, the collapses, the Julie Mosses, Mark, the Iron Battle, and now, Lucy Charles winning. What was it like running down Ali'i Drive? And then what was it like when you finally saw the finish line?
Yeah, you hear it before you see it. So you can hear them calling people, and I'm just willing myself at that point, get there. Yeah, it's a really neat experience to do that. And then like knowing in the back of your head all the history of going down the chute. And I'm just thinking, turn your headlamp off so you can take your picture, and the glare isn't in the picture. This is honestly what I'm thinking. And also get to the end, one, so that you can get the whatever food my sister had met me at about mile 24 and told me she had a cheeseburger waiting. So I'm like, okay, cheeseburger.
And just so people know, your sister Molly Rosenberg was your Sherpa.
Yeah, Molly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was what I kept thinking, was I got to get to that cheeseburger. I'm just going to get to the cheeseburger. I'm very food driven. I always say that the reason I do all of this is my excuse to eat, because I just love food.
Like they say, there's no greater love than the love of food. So
right. And it's really just so neat when you can see the big screen when as you're heading in and you're about to cross the finish line, and there's all the people on the side. I mean, it was a little late in the day for me crossing it. It was about quarter to 11 p.m. but still a lot of people out there cheering and excited, and it's really just, and then hearing them call it is just, you could see from my picture, I was very excited.
Yes. Compare that to some of your other ones. I mean, what does that like? Because I mean, it is just crazy. I mean, just your accomplishment and realizing what you must have felt made me emotional. It was weird. So it must have been incredible for you.
I think I'm still got a little bit of, it's weird to describe. I think I still have a little bit of shock about it, that this is what happened and this is what I did. I will say I did miss that we didn't have Mike Riley out there, voice of Ironman. He did call my number 12, so I take that with me. But I don't know if it has hit me yet. I think I'm still trying to process that this was what I worked to do this, and I've done it, and okay, and I'm very excited, and I'm got a full packed season already, because everything I signed up for that I thought I was doing this year, I'm now doing next year. So it was really great, and I'm so appreciative to everybody who cheered for me and encouraged me. That's really means so much.
Well, it was fun to keep track of you. So now go back to the start of the race, where there's always a little bit of chaos in the start. What was it like starting the race, and what was going through your mind that you were now doing Kona and you're at the start line? Because Kona was, you know, the goal here. What was
Yeah.
the start like?
So we were the last, I'm in the 45 to 49 age group. We were the last group to go in the water.
Mhm.
So we actually heard that Lucy Charles Barkley coming in as she was finishing her swim. It's a lot of nervous energy. You know, the crowd is huge. Probably the biggest I can remember seeing at the start of any Ironman swim. And that's saying something given how small the area kind of is, but a lot of excitement, a lot of nerves, was just, you know, excited about the swim, a little bit nervous because I haven't done a non-wetsuit open water swim in a lot of years. So I was just, you know, trying to contemplate how long is this going to take me without the wetsuit. Usually the wetsuit, you know, gives you a little bit of an advantage. So I was okay, you know, and then hoping that it wasn't going to be too choppy and I wasn't going to swallow a ton of salt water on the swim. The swim itself is really beautiful. The water is like the most perfect temperature. It's crystal clear. You can see fish swimming in the bottom. And fortunately, I didn't see anything too big. That would have scared the heck out of me. Might have started throwing punches at that point, but you can see little schools of fish and it's a really beautiful swim. It's very well marked. The turnaround is at a boat. So you're swimming, or you swim around the boat and then you come back in and, great, really just, I really enjoyed the swim. It's probably my best of the 3 events that I do. I have no complaints about the swim other than I think I have I have the burn, the wetsuit, the non-wetsuit burn on the back of my neck. That's my,
From the sun, or your kit? You're from the sun or your truss?
I think from my speed suit, probably. And then I have some fun tan. I mean, I don't know how well you can see it, but the fun arm tan and some of the race tattoo tan into my arm. It's yeah.
Well, you know, I hope it takes a long time for that to wear off, as well as I hope it takes a long time for you to process all this so you can enjoy it as long. And your swim was actually, you were under 2 minutes of, you know, 100. That was a great pace for 2.5 miles.
Good swim.
Yeah, that's I have no complaints on the swim. My transition times are always, my folks always say that are you camping out in transition? What are you doing? But for me, the transition, I had an issue because I couldn't find I got through and I was ready to leave. And then I realized I didn't have my bike gloves on. So to go back, they had to try to find my bag, and they had by that point thrown my bag into a pile of random bags. And by some miracle, after about like 3 minutes, somebody found my bag. So I was able to finally get through transition. I mean, I probably would have, you know, much longer would have left and just, you know, powered through it. But my feeling is I always want to be I'm not gonna win, so I always want to be as comfortable as I can possibly be.
And that makes you faster. I mean, that's a smart move. It's a good thing John wasn't there in your transition, because whenever I do transitions like that, he always calls me a rookie. He goes, "Get your stuff together, rookie."
No, Beth, I think that was really smart to get your gear that you wanted for that ride, because you knew that ride was going to be challenging because of the heat, because of the wind, and some of the climbing. And I think that was really smart. And that shows your experience to say, no, this time is not going to matter, because it's going to matter more to be comfortable through the ride. So walk us through the bike ride. What was that like?
The bike lives up to the hype. It's definitely a hot course. The Queen K doesn't offer any shade or protection. You know, the hills aren't anything, for those of us who ride out at Lake Mead, that we don't see out there. So nothing horribly technical or anything like that. The wind picked up a little as you're heading out to Javi, which is where the turnaround is. And, you know, just knew that going in. So a little bit of crosswind, but nothing, you know, if anybody did St. George last year, that it was like nothing, or California last year, it was like nothing. There was like no wind practically. So I think we got very lucky. The conditions overall were pretty good, just very warm. and I, just tried to do my best to keep taking in as much liquids as I possibly could take in and eat. And there are times, you don't want to eat, but you have to eat, and just trying to keep on top of the nutrition, because I knew it was going to be, the run, at that point, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon was going to just be hot, and you weren't going to recover if you went out and you were undernourished for the run.
It's a humid hot, isn't it? It's not
yeah, I mean, it's 90 here versus 90 there. Two very different 90, two very different things. So I will say I'm so glad I trained on the on my, I did a lot of the riding of the course on my bike trainer in advance. And it's actually harder on the whatever the course I do is on the trainer than it was than I found it to be. So that helped quite a bit.
Why do you find that? Why do you find that it's harder on the trainer?
I don't know if they just have the settings where the grades seem harder, because I guess when I'm just out there, it didn't seem, I'm like, this isn't on the trainer, it's saying that this is a, 5 or 6% grade, and this doesn't feel like a 5 or 6% grade when I'm out here. So I don't know if they just have the settings, or I'm writing the settings, but I think that paid off. But at the end of the day, I don't know that unless I was riding my bike in a steam room, that I could have acclimated as much as I needed to for the heat, or gotten there maybe a month in advance to heat acclimate. I work full time, so that wasn't going to be happening. But
gosh, that is crazy too, because I mean, getting ready for a race like this is a full-time job. So you had two for a while.
Yeah, it's a lot of days of get up at 4:30, work out, go to work, leave work, work out, come home, sleep, lather, rinse, repeat. So now I have free time, and I know I'm going to go probably a little bit stir crazy here in the next few days, where I'm going to be itching to try to get back into doing something that, like I said, I had gone into this with some tendonitis in my knee, and I'm really going to try to do my best to let that heal up some, so that, next season can happen.
And you already have your sights on next season. Wow. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I had everything. I didn't know I was getting into this race until about February. So I had already signed up for everything. So fortunately, I was able to defer all the races I had paid for next year. So I've already got 1/2 and 2 fulls for next year that I'm doing. There's no fixing me.
Well, that's great.
I don't know if at 24 they let me come back and do Kona again.
Oh, that would be cool.
You certainly enjoy the long distance, and so that's what's sort of fun about that bike ride is it's a long bike ride, and like you said, training here in Las Vegas, the hills are not any different than what we have to deal with, but it's the heat and the humidity that is a little bit of a trick. So you come down the Queen K and you finish your bike ride. And at what point did you start thinking about the run? And then what was it like to get off the bike and do the run at that point?
So I started thinking about the run when I could see the people on the run course as I was biking back in.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was always like, oh, those women are going to be done like 3 hours before I am. Yeah. Lucky them. The first, my feeling going into this, because of my knee issue, was I was going to run what I could and walk what I had to. I was able to, slow trot, because I shouldn't call it running, slow trot, some of the first part of it. I think by the time I got to where the Natural Energy Lab is, the downhill parts, I was still slow trotting, but then pretty much anything else I was walking. And I mean, I don't know that they give enough credit to how hilly that run course is. I know that their athlete guide says it's only 1,000 feet. I think it's more. My watch had it at like 2,000 feet of climbing, and I guess ignorance is bliss, because I think it might have scared me a little bit if I'd known it was going to be that much. But I definitely wish I had. Looking back, I had been able to do some more run training. Like I said, I really wasn't able to start running again until about September, the first part of September. And my longest training run was about 10 miles. I really didn't do a lot of training running off the bike. And you kind of you can't fake an Ironman run, and you kind of see that that's what it is. So, I did what I could. And my marathon time was about an hour 15 slower than what it should have been. But at the end of the day, I knew I just wanted to finish, and I can't complain. I can't complain. The fact that I was even able out there to get out there and do it when, like I said, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to run any of it.
Yeah.
So I'm real grateful.
That leads me to a question is how did you stay as injury-free as you were for 12 years? And I mean, that's what a lot of people would, love to know, me included.
And I should say I've had my share of kind of, about 2 years ago, I had a hamstring issue on my right leg. It's funny that my knee issue was my left leg. So I had a hamstring issue. What I think what I'm starting to see more now, especially as I get older, is I really do need to keep weight training as I'm training, and not just swim, bike, run. And that's so hard for me because I don't know. I don't know why I just can't get into the weight training. I would much rather be outside doing a run or, going for a swim than spending, 30 or 40 minutes in the weight room. But I'm really starting to see that doing that and stretching is, finding the, 5 to 10 minutes to do that is going to save me in the long term. So I have to keep telling myself to make that happen.
Oh, that's real smart too. And that's a lot of injury prevention right there, is getting your strength and a little bit of muscle mass around your joints and stuff. So
now, I don't know
what
if
your off season's for, right? You're going to do something in your off season?
I don't know if it's funny that you say I've been injury free. So now it's been 11 years ago, I had a very bad bicycle crash in a race in Orange County, and ended up with about 60 stitches in my face, broke my teeth, broke a rib, broke my jaw.
Good grief.
Yeah. So that was not good. I don't recommend trying to go over the handlebars on your bike. I was going downhill about 25 miles an hour, and I hit some uneven road, and I just went and did not stick the landing. So, but that was in September. And then by the following May, I did Oceanside. So, I mean, I think somehow within me was just always like, I'm going to get back to doing this. I'm not going to now I will say I still have, some fear going downhill at like 30 miles an hour. I will always be probably death gripping my bike till the end of time. But,
somewhat of a healthy fear, when you
but
downhill that fast.
Can't let it set you back. Got to keep just one foot in the front of the other.
Now, had you been working on your legacy at that point?
I don't think, like I said, I don't think at that point
but you kept going. Wow.
It was a thing. I think I just wanted to get back to doing it because I really enjoy it. I don't know, something about doing this is just, it keeps me on the straight and narrow. I think keeps me sane.
I got to add, Beth, that's amazing that one, you had this injury going into this race, you knew about it, but you were able to, with your experience, recalibrate what you needed to do to get to that finish line. And I think that's a great message for a lot of people here is we don't always get to that start line in perfect health, but yet you still found a way to do it. And talking about this bike crash and coming back from that, that's amazing. I mean, that's really a very tenacious type of person that you're going after these long distance events like this. So what a neat, that must have made the finish line of Kona even feel that much better, because one, you got through it with an injury, and then two, what you've overcome to get there.
I always say I've gotten my worst injury out of the way, so no more in the future. But I owe a huge debt of gratitude for me getting to this race to my physical therapist, and he got me here. I mean, I started up with him in July, and he kept reassuring me that he would, we'd find a way. And thanks to him, we found a way. So shout out to him.
I love that.
Now, is there any advice that you can give to anyone who's listening or anyone who's doing, that more than one Ironman or their first Ironman, as far as for staying injured, keeping your injuries down?
Oh boy, I think you have to give yourself some grace, because there will be days that you just don't feel like doing it, and that's okay. But then you also have to know that you got to sometimes push through the through the thoughts in your head. I mean, I always say the sport is like 10% physical and 90% mental. And just, and always don't be afraid to, I ask for advice from folks, and I've found the community to be like super welcoming, and people will always be willing to help you and have advice, and send you to a good bike shop, or they know a good physical therapist, or they know somebody who can do dry needling or massage, or so just you don't have to necessarily be married to like every day on your training plan. It helps, it's a good guideline, but you do what you can, and sometimes life lets you do more. And
if you could elaborate a little bit on one thing, and that is, how do you draw the line between listening to your body when it says, I don't want to do this, and having the discipline to keep going when you should?
Somebody once said to me that you have to ask yourself the question, are you hurt or are you hurting? And that there's a difference between that. So it's okay to be hurting, but if you're hurt, then you need to back off. So you kind of just have to have and I've kind of just always kept that in the back of my head, of knowing the difference of, am I just sore? Am I just tired today? Or am I, fighting a cold and I need to back off?
Injured?
Or am I injured? So am I hurt? So I've always just kind of kept that as my kind of informal gauge of where I am.
That's a wonderful gauge. That's a wonderful metric. I like that.
Yeah. And listen, I don't profess to be any sort of, I've just done a lot of them, and I still every time feel like I learn something new and different, and take the experience to the next race. I mean, I think you're always just learning. Even the races I haven't finished, you take that and learn and go forward. And that's what I try to do. And there you
I
have
love that
it.
Oh, sorry. I love that you brought up the mental aspect of doing this and learning things as you go along too. I'm wondering, in these endurance events, almost everyone reaches that dark spot where you're like, I don't know if I can get to that finish line. I'm wondering if that happened during Kona, and what was it that you did to bring yourself out of it if it did happen?
I know there was a point I was pretty sure that the blisters on my feet were exploding and giving birth to new blisters. And more than anything, I just wanted to sit down and take off my shoes and do all that and take a minute. And I just, like I said, I wanted to finish. I knew I had it in me to finish. I kept saying to myself, you didn't come all this way. And, all the people that who have, backed you up to get you to this point, you're not gonna, stop. And, I think I've gotten to the point in doing these where I kind of know the difference of, because I have, stopped and dropped out. And so I've started 16 fulls and I've dropped out of 2. And I think both times I dropped out, it was physically, I knew that if I kept going, I was going to make myself worse. The one instance in Silverman, I was having terrible back issues, and I was like, if I keep going, I'm going to end up very, very hurt.
You're going to do damage.
Yeah. And I think last year then at Ironman St. George, after I got off the bike, I went to about mile 1 of the run and just said, I don't have it in me to, I could keep going for another 25 miles, but I just physically, I just knew that I was going to be not in a good place, and they would probably have to take me somewhere. So it was just kind of knowing that I was at my limit. I never really, I think, knock on wood, that I never really kind of felt that way at Kona. Like I said, the blisters were not great. I think I don't know if you've seen on my Facebook page, I have a picture of my shoes with blood on them. I think one of the blisters had exploded on my foot. gross and disgusting, but yeah,
Well,
I was
I
not going to quit. I couldn't quit. I
I love
came
that.
that far. I knew I was probably not going to get the opportunity again, and just wanted to get her done.
That's great. And I love this. I think I'm glad you brought up the DNFs, because I actually think that DNFs help sharpen everyone as an
Yeah.
athlete, because when you do these events long enough, something always comes up where the best decision is to not continue. Mark Allen has DNFs, Meredith
Mhm.
Kessler has these happen, and sometimes it's the right decision. Well, a lot of times it is the right
Yeah.
decision, but they sort of make you a stronger athlete. And so I applaud you for bringing that up, because that was part of your journey in getting to Kona, and that's one of those things that carried you forward to the finish line.
Yeah. I knew I definitely didn't feel like how I felt in St. George when I wanted to stop. I think I don't know, I think I've known myself well enough now where I know that difference. And I know that for me at St. George, the issue was definitely because of how windy it was, and my bike, how long I was on the bike, and I was on the bike for a very long time. I just didn't get in the nutrition that I needed, and I wasn't going to climb. Once you're in that hole, unfortunately,
Yeah. It's hard to get out.
getting out is not going to happen. So
Beth,
lesson learned, and I took that lesson to Kona, where even if I didn't feel like I wanted to take in the liquids, I'm like, no, take them in, force yourself, take them in.
Well, and sometimes you got to break yourself down to actually learn things, and
Yeah.
you know what you've accomplished getting to Kona is amazing. Finishing Kona is amazing as well. And so all that work is paid off. So congratulations again. This is
Thank
great for
you.
you to come on shortly afterwards, where you're still post Ironman exhausted. And thank you for
And
joining
sick.
us and sharing your story.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. Can I say honored that you guys asked me to do this? I'm very flattered, and you know, if anybody is listening or interested or anything, and I love the sport. It's done so much for me. I'm, desperately trying to get my niece and nephew to at least start like considering running, I wanted the next generation to join me in doing this, because it's just really been such a gift in my life.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, taking the time. And as John said, fresh off of your Kona, and you're still in recovery right now. So we appreciate you being on. And John and I and a lot of other people really wanted to hear about your story and your race.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks everyone who tuned in.
Yeah.